A Fragile Mosaic. The Kingdom of Yugoslavia, 1918 to 1943. From the ashes of empires, nations are born. In the wake of the First World War, a new kingdom emerged in southeastern Europe, Yugoslavia. This land, a mosaic of South Slavic peoples, dreamt of unity and strength. However, this dream was constantly threatened by internal divisions, ethnic tensions, and the gathering storm clouds of a new world war. Yugoslavia's birth was heralded with hope. The kingdom of Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, as it was initially called, emerged from the unification of territories previously under Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman rule. This unification, a dream nurtured by pan-Slavic nationalists, promised a future of shared identity and prosperity for South Slavs. King Alexander I, a charismatic yet authoritarian figure, ascended the throne in 1918, embodying the aspirations for a unified Yugoslav nation. However, the path to unity was fraught with challenges. The kingdom encompassed a diverse tapestry of ethnicities: Serbs, Croats, Slovenes, Bosniaks, Macedonians, and Albanians, each with their own cultural traditions and political aspirations. The initial centralized government, dominated by Serbs, fueled resentment among other groups who felt their identities and interests were sidelined. Calls for federalism and greater autonomy for constituent ethnicities grew louder, creating a constant undercurrent of tension. Economic challenges further exacerbated the kingdom's fragility. Yugoslavia inherited a patchwork economy, with developed regions juxtaposed against impoverished ones. The task of forging a cohesive economic strategy proved daunting. Social issues like land reform and workers' rights added to the simmering discontent. Despite these challenges, Yugoslavia experienced a period of relative stability during the 1920s. King Alexander I, through a combination of skillful political maneuvering and a crackdown on dissent, managed to maintain a semblance of national unity. A new constitution in 1929, albeit controversial due to its centralizing tendencies, aimed to provide a framework for a unified Yugoslav identity. However, kingdom stability was shattered in 1934 with the assassination of King Alexander I. The loss of a charismatic leader created a power vacuum, and ethnic tensions resurfaced with renewed vigor. The rise of fascism across Europe further destabilized the region. Croatia, in particular, witnessed the rise of the fascist Ustasha movement, which advocated for Croatian independence and espoused virulently nationalistic views. The year 1939 marked a turning point. The outbreak of the Second World War cast a long shadow over Yugoslavia. The kingdom, desperate to maintain its neutrality, found itself caught in a geopolitical tug-of-war between the Axis powers and the Allies. In 1941, facing immense pressure, the Yugoslav government signed the Tripartite Pact, aligning itself with Germany and Italy. This decision, deeply unpopular among the population, proved disastrous. A coup d'état quickly followed, toppling the pro-Axis government. The enraged Axis powers responded with a swift and brutal invasion, dismembering Yugoslavia within a matter of weeks. The Kingdom of Yugoslavia's tragic demise, a mere 25 years after its inception, serves as a cautionary tale. It highlights the perils of neglecting ethnic and cultural differences in the pursuit of national unity. The kingdom's failure to forge a sense of shared identity among its diverse population left it vulnerable to internal divisions and external manipulation. The legacy of Yugoslavia remains contested. For some, it represents a lost dream of South Slavic unity. For others, it serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked nationalism and authoritarian rule. The events that unfolded from 1918 to 1943 offer a poignant case study in the complexities of nation building, a saga echoing with lessons for those navigating the challenges of multicultural societies. As Yugoslavia descended into the chaos of the Second World War, its dream of unity fractured, leaving behind a legacy of hardship and a potent reminder of the fragility of peace in a region historically prone to war. The fall of a tyrant, Lenin's decline and a legacy etched in blood. The fires of revolution that once illuminated Vladimir Lenin's eyes began to flicker in the twilight of his life. Ailing and increasingly isolated, the architect of the world's first communist state grappled with the specter of his own mortality and the chilling possibility that his revolutionary dream might morph into a monstrous reality. By 1922, the relentless strain of leading a revolution and governing a war-ravaged nation had taken its toll on Lenin. A series of strokes left him partially paralyzed and aphasic, his once formidable presence reduced to a shadow haunting the halls of the Kremlin. Confined to a series of sanatoriums, Lenin watched as the flames of revolutionary zeal flickered and threatened to be extinguished by the icy grip of illness. As Lenin's health deteriorated, a power struggle unfolded within the nascent Soviet government. Several figures, hungry for the mantle of leadership, jockeyed for position. Among them was Leon Trotsky, a brilliant military strategist and Lenin's closest confidant. However, a more cunning player, Joseph Stalin, the general secretary of the Communist Party, began to weave a web of influence, consolidating his power base with calculated ruthlessness. Lenin, though weakened, remained a pivotal figure. His pronouncements, known as his testament, offered a scathing critique of Stalin's character, warning of his growing power and ruthless ambition. Lenin advocated for a collective leadership, fearing Stalin's dictatorial tendencies. However, Lenin's declining health rendered him increasingly powerless to prevent Stalin's rise. The nature of Lenin's relationship with Stalin during this period remains a subject of historical debate. Some argue that Lenin, despite his reservations, saw Stalin as a capable administrator who could maintain stability during a precarious time. Others believe that Lenin, had he lived longer, would have actively thwarted Stalin's ambitions. Regardless of the specific dynamics, the power struggle cast a long shadow over the future of the Soviet Union. In 1924, the inevitable arrived. Lenin's flickering flame finally sputtered out, leaving behind a nascent communist state grappling with internal contradictions and an uncertain path forward. His legacy, much like the revolution he led, proved to be multifaceted and fiercely contested. Hailed by some as a visionary leader who ushered in a new era of social justice, Lenin was condemned by others as a ruthless dictator who sowed the seeds of a monstrous regime. Lenin's economic policies, embodied in the New Economic Policy, or NEP, aimed to revive the shattered Soviet economy through a partial return to market mechanisms. However, this policy was implemented amidst ideological tension, with Stalin ultimately dismantling it after Lenin's death in favor of a more centralized command economy, a system that would prove disastrous for millions. Lenin's vision for the future of the Soviet Union also remained open to interpretation. He envisioned a decentralized state structure with significant autonomy for constituent republics. Stalin, however, favored a centralized, authoritarian model, ultimately consolidating power in his own hands and creating a totalitarian regime that would unleash a wave of terror upon its own people. Lenin's legacy transcended the borders of the Soviet Union. His revolutionary ideology inspired communist movements across the globe, shaping the course of the 20th century. However, the brutality of the Stalinist regime cast a dark shadow over Lenin's ideals. The millions who perished in Stalin's purges, the gulags, and the manufactured famines serve as a chilling reminder of the monstrous reality that emerged from the ashes of Lenin's revolution. The final chapter of Lenin's life, a saga of decline, political maneuvering, and a legacy forever entangled with the horrors of Stalinism, serves as a cautionary tale. It underscores the precarious nature of revolutions and the chilling truths that can lurk beneath the surface of utopian ideals. Lenin, the once towering revolutionary, succumbed to illness, leaving behind a legacy forever tainted by the blood of millions. His story echoes through the halls of history, a stark reminder of the enduring power of ideas and the monstrous consequences of unchecked power in the hands of a ruthless leader. An Arabian Storm, the Saudi conquest of Hejaz and the forging of modern Saudi Arabia. The sands of the Arabian Peninsula whispered of change in the early decades of the 20th century. From the heart of Najd, a wind of ambition began to stir, carrying the dreams of a resurgent Saudi dynasty. We will explore the Saudi conquest of Hejaz, 1924 to 1925, a pivotal chapter that reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the region and marked the birth of modern Saudi Arabia. The roots of the conflict lay in a historic rivalry between the Hashemite rulers of Hejaz, guardians of the Islamic holy cities of Mecca and Medina, and the Saudi dynasty of Najd. The Saudis, adherents of a strict interpretation of Islam known as Wahhabism, had clashed with the Hashemites for decades, vying for dominance in the region. The discovery of vast oil reserves in Najd in the early 1900s further fueled the embers of ambition. The immediate pretext for war emerged in 1924 when pilgrims from Najd were denied access to the holy cities, a move perceived by the Saudis as a deliberate affront. This act ignited a long-simmering tension, propelling the ambitious Sultan Abdulaziz ibn Saud, leader of the Najd, onto the warpath. The Saudi forces, known as the Ikhwan, a fiercely loyal tribal army imbued with religious fervor, proved a formidable force. Their austere lifestyle and battlefield prowess contrasted sharply with the more relaxed and cosmopolitan nature of the Hashemite army. The Ikhwan, fueled by a potent cocktail of religious zeal and the promise of plunder, swept across the Hejaz with relentless momentum. The technological disparity between the two sides further tilted the balance in favor of the Najdi forces. The Saudis, despite their traditional desert warfare tactics, had begun to incorporate modern weaponry, including machine guns and armored vehicles, into their arsenal. The Hashemite forces, on the other hand, clung to outdated military strategies and equipment, proving no match for the modernized Saudi onslaught. The fall of Mecca in 1924 marked a turning point in the conflict. The city, the holiest site in Islam, surrendered with minimal resistance. This bloodless conquest served a potent propaganda purpose, portraying the Saudis not as barbaric invaders but as liberators. However, the capture of Medina a few months later was a more brutal affair, marked by looting and violence. The Hashemite king Ali, facing a relentless enemy and a crumbling defense, fled Hejaz in December 1925. With his departure, the conflict came to a swift conclusion. The entire Hejaz region, including the strategically vital port city of Jeddah, fell under Saudi control. The consequences of the Saudi conquest of Hejaz were far-reaching. The Hashemite kingdom was extinguished, and the dream of a pan-Arab state under Hashemite rule lay shattered. The victorious Saudis united most of the Arabian Peninsula under their banner, laying the groundwork for the creation of the modern Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. The conquest also marked a significant shift in the custodianship of the Islamic holy cities. The Saudis, though initially met with suspicion by some Muslims due to their austere interpretation of Islam, gradually established themselves as the guardians of Mecca and Medina. This role bestowed immense religious prestige on the Saudi dynasty and solidified their position as a leading power in the Islamic world. However, the conquest was not without its controversies. The violence unleashed by the Ikhwan in Medina, coupled with the destruction of certain religious sites deemed idolatrous, alienated some Muslims. The strict Wahhabi interpretation of Islam also raised concerns about religious tolerance within the newly formed Saudi kingdom. The echoes of the Saudi conquest of Hejaz continue to resonate in the region today. The birth of modern Saudi Arabia, a nation rich in oil reserves and wielding significant religious authority, fundamentally altered the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. The legacy of the conflict, a complex tapestry of ambition, religious fervor, and power struggles, serves as a reminder of the enduring rivalries and complex dynamics at play in the region. As the sands of time shift, the Saudi conquest of Hejaz remains a pivotal chapter, shaping the present and potentially influencing the future of the Arabian Peninsula. A Venomous Manifesto, Unveiling the Darkness Within Mein Kampf. From the ashes of defeat in the First World War, a venomous seed sprouted in the fertile ground of German discontent. This seed, nurtured by resentment and fueled by ambition, blossomed into a monstrous manifesto, Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, or My Struggle. Published in 1925, this text served as both a chilling autobiography and a blueprint for a future steeped in hatred and domination. We will delve into the depths of Mein Kampf, exploring its origins, its core ideologies, and its enduring impact as a harbinger of the horrors that were yet to unfold. Mein Kampf was born in the crucible of Hitler's imprisonment following a failed coup attempt in 1923. Within the confines of his cell, filled with a burning sense of injustice and fueled by a warped vision of history, Hitler poured his venom onto paper. The resulting text, a rambling and often incoherent diatribe, became a cornerstone of Nazi ideology. At its core, Mein Kampf espoused a virulent form of racism, particularly anti-Semitism. Jews were portrayed as a parasitic race, a malignant force undermining the purity and strength of the Aryan nation. This hateful ideology, woven into the fabric of the text, justified violence and exclusion, paving the way for the horrors of the Holocaust. Hitler's vision for Germany extended beyond racial hatred. He yearned for a restoration of German greatness, fueled by a revisionist interpretation of history that blamed Germany's defeat in the First World War on a conspiracy of Jews and weak leadership. This yearning for Lebensraum, or living space, fueled a fervent expansionism, a vision of conquest that would plunge Europe into a devastating conflict. Mein Kampf also laid out the blueprint for a totalitarian state. Hitler envisioned a Germany ruled by a single, charismatic leader, a Führer, who would embody the will of the Aryan nation. This vision of absolute power, devoid of checks and balances, paved the way for the suppression of dissent and the erosion of individual liberties. The impact of Mein Kampf was far-reaching and profoundly disturbing. Despite its rambling style and often illogical arguments, the text resonated with a significant segment of the German population, particularly those disillusioned by the aftermath of the war and susceptible to scapegoating and promises of national revival. Mein Kampf became a rallying cry for the Nazi Party, a potent tool for indoctrination and mobilization. The consequences of Mein Kampf were catastrophic. The ideology it espoused fueled a wave of persecution, discrimination, and ultimately, genocide. The millions who perished in the Holocaust, the systematic destruction of European Jewry, stand as a horrifying testament to the monstrous potential unleashed by the words within this manifesto. However, Mein Kampf's legacy extends beyond the immediate horrors of the Second World War. It serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of unchecked nationalism, racial hatred, and the allure of totalitarian leadership. The text stands as a stark warning against the seductive power of scapegoating and the ease with which charismatic figures can manipulate emotions to achieve their own nefarious ends. Though defeated in the fires of war, the ideas espoused in Mein Kampf continue to resonate in the darkest corners of the world. Understanding the origins and core tenets of this venomous manifesto remains crucial in identifying and combating the resurgence of extremist ideologies and ensuring that the horrors of the past are never repeated. Mein Kampf serves as a potent symbol of darkness, a chilling reminder of the destructive potential unleashed when hatred and prejudice are allowed to fester. Its pages remain a stark warning, urging humanity to remain vigilant against the forces that seek to divide and conquer. In the next chapter, we will cover the military coup in Poland, as well as the outbreak of a civil war in China.